Welcome back to Mosaic Talks. Today we are joined by Tatyana Bystrushkina, Executive Director of the American Chamber of Commerce, Uzbekistan. We will be discussing ESG in Uzbekistan. Tatyana, I'm so excited to have you here today. So can you tell our audience about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Shamika, for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here in my, I think, two capacities as a director of the American Chamber of Commerce in Uzbekistan. As the ESG professional, and what I'm trying to do, it's like to unite both, like how I do it at AmCham. So I am the director of American Chamber of Commerce in Uzbekistan. This is an association of the international business that unites about 150 biggest US and EU investors and big Uzbek companies. We have been here since 1997 officially, and we are an association of the international business that actively works with the government of Uzbekistan on promotion Uzbekistan as an investment destination, on improving the investment climate here, and networking and promotion Central Asia as an investment destination. And now the second part of me, which is like ESG, it is I became to be involved actively in ESG when 10 years ago I got a Master of Science degree in Sustainable Development and Environmental Economics from the University of St. Andrews. And when I came back and then was offered this position in AmCham Uzbekistan, I had to somehow realize my knowledge and potential. And in addition to the social work and like voluntary work that I do in the public council under the Ministry of Ecology, in the RLC area, and also as a UN Global Compact Advisory Board member, I also decided to implement this ESG knowledge and practices in AmCham. That's how we started our work in the sector of ESG.
Do you know what I hate? When I get introduced to a new acronym and I have no idea what it is. Can you tell us what is ESG and why did it suddenly become so important?
Yeah, a very good question. I remember I once made a post about our events at LinkedIn, and my brother was like, Tatyana, when I read your post, I cannot understand anything in this post, like what? And he was like, what is ESG? Yes, and ESG stands for three directions of the policies, which is environmental, social, and governance. And basically, it all comes with this notion of the balance in the developmental. It came from the developmental economics, actually, the sustainable development, and it was actually invented by the World Bank. They said that countries seeking for the economic development very often sacrifice the environmental and social. So actually ESG comes from this SDG perfectly, which is the balance of the economic development, environmental safety, and social practices. So in what is called sustainable development, it is a balance of these three components in one country. When you don't sacrifice environment for the sake of the high economic development, like 7-10% GDP growth, when the social practices are in line with international standards, so people don't work like 100 hours a week to get this income at the level of if we talk about level of the company. And the same like labor legislation in the country also should be developed in line with all these best practices. So this is what is ESG.
So from your perspective, how has ESG entered the business agenda in Uzbekistan?
Mm-hmm. I think there are. If we talk from the perspective of AmCham Uzbekistan, as I mentioned, these are mainly multinationals, and back 10 years ago, it was a requirement of the HQ, as the HQ were implementing the main best practices on the environment, social, and governance, which is like ESG stands for. they required it from the offices and representations here in Uzbekistan, and very much it was driven by the requirements from the HQ of multinationals.
I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago that we did a capital markets ESG panel at AmCham. So when did you start hearing members start talking about ESG?
Yes. Let me dig a bit to the history of how it started in AmCham, because now we have a separate committee, ESG committee. Before it was the part of the CSR committee, and in the American Chamber of Commerce, this has been, I think, even a bit ahead of time. The CSR committee within AmCham we had like for at least 20 years.
And what is CSR?
Corporate and Social Responsibility Committee. It's been very active and maybe ahead of time here in the country, but for many years we had this very active committee, which was mainly concentrated on different events and actions, let us say. Like all together, we gathered all the members of AmCham to clean the parks, to clean the mountains, or we organized mentorship program. You were the mentorship program for the 30 girls around Uzbekistan from 10 universities, and most of the members of AmCham from different sectors were members of this program. We also supported the clinic lounge. It was like decades ago, and for years we've been doing this, I think even before the ESG started as a term. But then I remember the like in the kind of institutionalization of this happened in 2022, when 3 big members of AmCham, Silverleaf, American, Artel, and Korzinka, they brought this UN Global Compact to Uzbekistan, and we started talking officially. I mean, we organized a big event, like 100 people, and started talking about these main sectors. And UN Global Compact is UN structure in the for the business to promote the best practices in ESG.
Okay, so you've actually just answered my next question, because I was just going to ask you, did you find the drive for ESG coming more from multinational corporations or from local Uzbek companies?
I think it was a kind of both, because what we see over time, the Uzbek companies are becoming very strong and they grow big, but the top management of all the big multinational, all the big Uzbek companies are coming from the West. And at that time, when I talk about UN Global Compact, all the C-suite level in Korzinka, in Artel were all like from Europe and UK. And these are the countries known globally for driving the best ESG practices. So these people started to implement it here in Uzbekistan.
So you mentioned you started it initially under the CSR committee, and you now have a standalone committee for ESG. How does AmCham position ESG into its strategic priorities?
Yeah, we have, because the committee was very active, the subcommittee was very active, we made it like a separate committee since last year, because it was enough events the committee was organizing already and enough participants. And currently ESG committee is about 30 companies from different sectors, traditionally energy sector, retail sector, consultants. We have all big 4 members and small consultants, textile, agriculture. So it's a good representation of about 30 companies, the members of the AmCham ESG committees. And the committee mainly focus on 3 main directions, which is events. Of course, it is an important part of it, and we did like big events. Like we first of all introduced AmCham CSR Ball, where we provide award
Premier
for ESG
event.
we award companies for their ESG achievements. We also have a policy dialogue with the government of Uzbekistan and AmCham, this committee in particular. And in 2024, we provided like national business agenda in ESG. where we concentrated on the long-term and short-term recommendations, which would like really help Uzbekistan to achieve or maybe get Uzbekistan closer to achieving the SDGs. We submitted to the government, and we are in regular dialogue with the government on Uzbekistan on different issues. And we have like small victories already. Like one of the example is this renewable energy certificate. One of the events we just hosted this January in 2024. Part of the recommendations was on how to improve the renewable energy certificate issuance mechanism in Uzbekistan so foreign companies could buy it. And as a result, just in January this year, we hosted this Ministry of Finance Green Energy Center that kind of reported on the achievements, on the changes made with our recommendations and how it's affected their work here. So currently, they already were able to sell a certain number of I cannot remember now, renewable energy certificate abroad to Kazakhstan, to Europe, and this works. And this we can take credit for this as well. And the third area of cooperation in the ESG sector, it's also between the companies. Networking is or member-to-member cooperation. Has always been the biggest part of all companies. State networking and member-to-member cooperation is number one value they receive from AmCham. So it's best practice sharing and etc.
Well, I mean, and the fourth one you didn't mention is education and awareness, because I just have to let you know that the seminars that AmCham hosts are very, very, very helpful, because there are many people in industry where they don't even know what ESG is. And so you guys always have some events or some forum that serves as education. So thank you for hosting that.
Thank you for reminding me. This slipped my mind. The third part, the very important part of the committee is education. And that's we in the framework of this committee, what we did and how we started. In 2023, we organized open workshops together with UN Global Compact and Big Four UN Women on the 8 main topic of ESG. The seminars were open to all participants. People just could register and come. Most recently, last year, we did more focused online training by the London Reporting Academy, and as a member of AmCham, selected members of AmCham had these 8 online workshops on the ESG rating system, and the feedback we received, it was super helpful.
Tatyana, from your perspective, what is the current legal status of ESG in Uzbekistan, and how does it compare to other neighboring Central Asian countries?
Mm-hmm. Very good question. I can say from my experience, and I came back to Uzbekistan in 2018. It's when I think all this new administration started this like robust reforms, and they put a very good foundation for the development of the ESG. In Uzbekistan. Like, first of all, Uzbekistan ratified the Paris Agreement. This is the first indication of the country's commitment to the best green practices. I can tell you that not all superpowers committed the Paris Agreement. Yes. Then we have a national program for the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Uzbekistan clearly defined like all the commitments to reduction of the greenhouse emissions according to the SDGs. And I think there are 125 aims. We also have a national program on the transition to green economy 2030, and most recently, where AmCham participated, there was a roadmap of the green economy transition with the detailed steps, like in each sector of economy. And AmCham was asked by the Ministry of Ecology to provide recommendations, so the members gave the recommendations. If you compare with the neighboring countries, I mean, talking about Central Asia. There are 2 pioneering countries, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, and because Kazakhstan was started earlier, I think, the estimation, and if even if you look at the market of the ESG consultants here, like Big Four and something, most of them are those from Kazakhstan, because Kazakhstan already done many steps, like we are just implementing, and we are like Uzbekistan is catching up very quickly, but it still will need some time. And also, I think, and my understanding, there is also the nature of the economy. That like Kazakhstan is a mono economy; it's oil and gas. And Uzbekistan, we have like multi-sectoral economy. And from this point of view, I mean, as has been like discussed, in many cases, the ESG was driven by the HQ of the multinationals. In Kazakhstan, it's mainly international oil and gas companies, and they are also polluters. Like the biggest polluters are mainly oil and gas sector. And that's why it started earlier there. If you look at Uzbekistan, our main polluting sectors are, oil and gas, metallurgy, construction, transport, many others, and economy is also multi-sectoral. So in this case, like I think we need some time to catch up. It's also like when you talk about recommendations, one of our long-term recommendations to the government was to calculate the sector's emissions per sector of economy, and then you will be able to, if there are like emissions calculated by the sector of the economy, then it will be easier to put a level of reduction. In Kazakhstan, it has been done again due to the thing that it's like mono economy, it's oil and gas emissions. In Uzbekistan, we have like different sectors, and therefore it's like it's a bit more complicated. And this was also part of our recommendations back like in those national business agenda. Unfortunately, we don't see that. I mean, we don't see this it's fully implemented yet. And also, as a former advisory member of the UN Global Compact, you can see that there was an attempt to open an office here in Tashkent, but finally the number of companies members of the UN Global Compact was not enough, and now UN Global Compact is Central Asian regional with the head in Kazakhstan. And if you look at the number of members, it's 123 Kazakh companies versus less than 20 in Uzbekistan, and then 2 or 1 for the other countries of Central Asia. So, because I can say Kazakhstan is leading, Uzbekistan is very quickly catching up.
Thank you. Switching gears to ESG and the investment climate, how closely linked are ESG standards to attracting investors?
Yeah, this is very interesting question because, ESG, as I mentioned, ESG is relatively new to even the capital markets. And I'm not from the financial sector, so I can only tell from my experience in this ESG reporting. But there are almost 600 different reporting indices and in the ESG. And depending on the company's aim, like what they plan to do, there are different indices or rating system to be used. As most frequent, there are like some big ones, and under the rating agency like Fitch, Moody's, what you name it, you're from financial sector, and they all have this Standard & Poor's. They all have the sustainability ESG rating as well. So it is they are like valued by the investors, but there are sophisticated, and that's what it's part of a kind of greenwashing. Mm-hmm. That if the company undergone one rating successfully, it doesn't mean that it will pass the another rating successfully, because the methodology is different. How they collect information, analytics is different. So and therefore, the most sophisticated investors, they compare like several indices because it's like in the publicly disclosed information.
Do you think ESG disclosures should become mandatory for public companies?
Where? In Uzbekistan?
Yes.
I think it's already like let us let us move a bit a step ahead and understand, from my experience, which companies are doing this ESG reporting or ESG rating. In my experience, I mean, and the business is very pragmatic. They wouldn't spend their time, especially if it's a small business, and capacity on collecting all this information and reports and listing in. So in my experience here in Uzbekistan, there are several types of companies that do this ESG reporting. It is state-owned companies that are undergoing transformation now, and that's why they had to understand where they stand, because they will attract investment. So there are state-owned companies in the transformation. There are companies to be publicly listed, like the banks or companies in the privatization list. So those companies are doing this rating because, I mean, it requires time, it requires resources. If we talk about Uzbek companies, there are mainly now exporters. Why? Because CBAM, which is European Union, those who want to export to European Union, many textile producers, they will have to do it, because since 2025 there are requirements of the European Union to get certain standards of the products, and it will be then, I think, from this year it's already will cover all the export items.
You mentioned the multiple different frameworks for ESG. So of these, which ones are the most practical for Uzbekistan companies?
It's depending on what the company aims to obtain, because previously there was this GRI very widely spread. I mean, and it's a kind of self-reporting company just disclose information about the state of the environment, social and government, but it answers the question is what is the company's impact on the three sectors. What we see more now, and I think in Europe, in more advanced markets, all the companies are moving to IFRS S2, which is ESG from the point of view, how much company value, what is the value of the company from the point of view of following these standards. And it will inevitably move to Uzbekistan, as these companies, I mean, it's rating agencies. It's if the company want to be listed as something, they will have to do it.
Okay, because that was actually my next question. I love that you're always ahead of me. Okay. I just wanted to know, from your perspective, do you think a lot of companies were already adopting IFRS standards in GRI?
I think only those companies, but to my knowledge, we're coming back to these companies that plan to be listed. And now, I know that banks, they've been doing it. They had to do it because of the requirements. And I mean, I don't know personally this, but my understanding in those, we just heard the news that TBC just got listed in NASDAQ. It was a good news yesterday. I think they obviously would do it for them because it was a requirement.
So how can these companies, government and private, approach ESG without excessive costs?
This is very good question. As what we call now ESG premium. It's now I mean, most recently, companies do not consider ESG as the cost, but as the step to attracting capital. So it's something when companies were hiring auditors from Big Four, something in financial sector, you do it because it's inevitable. Or when you have a consultant to implement IFRS, you have to do it because you will grow in value. The company will grow in value. Now the same, what is called ESG premium. It is you have to invest to get more return on investment.
What advice would you give leaders that are just starting their ESG journey?
It's what leaders in Uzbek business leaders, big business leaders, or what?
Just in general, anyone just embarking on their company has not focused on ESG and they want to pivot.
That's again coming back to that conversation. and the recent narrative in the U.S. with the current administration of the U.S. on the ESG, the guy was like, "But do you think this ESG will exist within the next 3-4 months?" My answer was like, in 3-4 years under the next survive this current administration. My answer was like, but do you think the planet will become greener and we will have more water or fresh air? No, these are depleting sources, and it's something which is inevitable. It will be there. So the earlier my advice to the leaders is like, the earlier you start implementing there, the better shape you will be in.
So much progress has been made, but there's still much to do. Where do you see Uzbekistan's ESG landscape by 2030?
Okay, I think there is a legal framework, and Uzbekistan clearly sees itself in the 2030 by ratifying all these documents and building this green economy program 2030. I think Uzbekistan will quickly catch up with the neighboring countries, pioneers in the ESG. And I mean, the aims are very clear. We are going there, and it is also necessity because we are rapidly moving to the renewable energy sources, like with Aqua investing a lot in the sun and wind turbines here. And according to the energy program, Uzbekistan will have to reach, the renewable energy sources will have to reach like 60% of the energy mix by 2030, 2040. I will need to, I need to confirm. So then we also see the quality of the air in summer. So it's another challenge. And I think the government is fully aware of the challenges and here, and it's like, when driven by the challenges, it's a right base the action to happen is a necessity. And I think we will be championing in the Central Asia soon, because the energy mix is getting more diversified, and with the hydro energy, with this renewable energy certificates based on the hydro now, and with these depleting sources of natural gas, I mean, we will be there, and I think we will be leading in the ESG in the Central Asia.
So I have a question for Mosaic Financial, for instance. We are not heavy polluters. We're an investment management firm. We take governance very serious, corporate governance. Is there something a firm like ours can be doing or should be doing for ESG?
No, but it's like, okay, there are, if when we go further, there are 3 scope. It's called scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. So every company is a subject of ESG, and that's like. But there are like polluters, producers, polluters, then heavy polluters, some retail, something. But they still and scope 3 is like, you use the suppliers, your supply chain, your partners. They are polluters, and like that's something, the question to ask. It's an interesting thing, and people are there already. But governance is an important part of ESG, and that's actually, while attracting investment, governance is considered as a big risk. If there are problems with the governance as a company, it's a red flag for investors from the point of view of ESG.
Tatyana, how does ESG create long-term value?
Okay, this is the good question in terms of this. I've mentioned quickly already, like before, it is a necessity. And okay, I understand that's a kind of like, for the last few years, it became a trend, ESG, the things. But as I mentioned, the natural resources are depleting. the air is getting more polluted, and we will, especially here in Central Asian region, it's already a fact that we will be lacking the drinking water very soon. So I would rephrase the question. It's not a value; it's a necessity and we will have to just live with it with ESG, because we at all the levels. At the personal level, at the company level, at country level, we'll have to follow these ESG principles. Like, okay, you mentioned before, like you as an investor or like a financial company, you do not pollute, but you as a person, how much you travel a year, and did you try to calculate your carbon footprint? It exceeds all the levels. It's talking about ESG at the personal level. At the company's level, it's like, and the countries we already mentioned.
What are the main criticisms that you hear about ESG?
Mm-hmm. Of course, I mean, it's not a big secret that greenwashing is the main criticism of all this concept of ESG premium. Many people say it's like that, just very, very comfortable term and actually there is nothing new. It's the same like IFRS 2 is the same like assessment of the financial risk, like risks. It's the same, just the new name. And also, what I recently heard at our event, it was very interesting to hear it from UN people. A question is like when we were talking about IREX, a renewable energy certificate, that it's a kind of greenwashing, like the companies are buying themselves, like because what is IREC? The polluters can buy this renewable energy certificates from, like, for example, Hydra. And a kind of like the evil is buying the entrance to the paradise. But this is exactly like, I mean, we could ignore it, but it's a market. It's a global market which already exists, and that's how the world is evolving. And instead of like we could ignore it, or we could start to do some actions. And I wouldn't call it a greenwashing. It's a market.
So can you tell me how the renewable energy certificates work? Who gets them? How do they get them?
It is a system that works everywhere internationally. And if we talk about neighbors, Kazakhstan already has it since 2022. We have it. And that's how it, in Uzbekistan, how it works. The green energy producers, and currently it's only Uzbek Hydra Energy, they are selling this certificates that the energy, that the electricity is produced with this with the water, which is like a renewable energy. And on the other side, this is a supply side. On the demand side are all these producers, and not necessarily like those that polluters, like all the producers who can buy these certificates and to balance their like whatever footprint, carbon footprint, or to become greener. And currently, what we see who is buying, it's multinational companies, because it is the policy driven by the headquarters. But actually now what this Uzbek exchange and the regulator are trying to do, for everyone to be aware of it and be able to buy.
Does that not risk greenwashing?
It is an international market, because I mean, but for this, because this money, the commitment of this of the producer of the green energy, for example, Hydra, the money which received from these certificates, they are obliged to invest in increasing capacity. So that means that they will produce more renewable energy, and that's how they balance this.
This has been very, very, very insightful. Do you have any closing remarks on ESG that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Yes, I think just another story. how I, again, coming back to where we started, like how I actually did this master degree in sustainable development and environmental economics. I wrote back in 2015, I wrote a dissertation on the solar energy here while I was doing my first master degree in international business. And that's how I got like, wow, it's so interesting. And that's why I applied for this master degree in sustainable development as a Chevening scholar. And I remember when I was leaving, I spoke with my friend who is an economist, and he was like, but what is this sustainable development? Tell me. Like, he had no idea what it is. But now you see that, like, 10 years, in 10 years, it's already people know what it is. There are specialists that, I mean, it's everywhere. Now I know that, like, for example, with assets, they have this excellence center with the support of ADB on preparing these professionals for this market. There is Central Asian Green University under the Ministry of Ecology. They are preparing their first graduates already on the market. So I think this is a message I keep repeating over the whole entire interview. It is something we will have to live it. ESG, it's not a tendency, it's not a trend. Maybe they will like rename it with the next, if UN survives, they will create a new something. But it is this is our life, and the more like education is important, because as I mentioned, at the personal level, as citizens will have to think about, about this ESG as the leaders in the corporations, we have to think about it, and at the country we have to think about it.
Thank you. An interesting takeaway you said, for me personally, is what is my carbon footprint? As someone who travels a lot.
We were planning to actually introduce this application to members of AmCham when you calculate your carbon.
Oh, that'll be very interesting. Yes. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Tatyana. You are the first female guest on Mosaic Talks. And so I'm really, really, really excited about that. And you mentioned your first master's. How many masters do you have?
Two so
Just
far.
two.
Just two so far. Yeah, planning to do PhD maybe.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think my question is like, did you invite me now at the early March because of this International Women's Day? Because this is a celebration week.
Oh my gosh. Cheers. All right. Yeah, well, we should do a stand-up one. We should definitely do a fun, cute reels. Okay. Women's Power, International Women's Day, because we can start releasing. Happy International Women's Day.
Good. Cheers.